and that they are monitoring the situation at Utah Valley University, where this apparently all happened. He is, again, a conservative activist for young people. His spokesperson said that he has been shot and he's been transported to Utah Valley University Hospital, condition unknown. We'll continue to stay on top of that situation for you and obviously bring you any new developments as they happen right here on Fox Local as we stream with you here in the 3 p.m. hour. We're also on top of breaking news in Walton County, where a helicopter has gone down. This is video from Skyfox 5 shot not too long ago. The helicopter, we understand, carrying 2 people, crashed in East Georgia, right between Atlanta and Athens. This is the aftermath of that crash. We're told that 2 people were injured here. The extent of their injuries unknown, but remarkable that they were injured, just judging by the aftermath of this crash. The wreckage found, we understand, near Mount Perrin Church Road and Brown Hill Church Road. We don't know why this chopper went down. Obviously, they're right in the middle of a field. The NTSB will be investigating what happened here, and if we learn more in this hour, we will, of course, turn it around and bring it right to you. So, right off the top, a couple of big breaking stories. The other developing story we're following here for you as you stream with us today is a massive Korean Airlines 747 touchdown at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport to bring home several hundred South Korean workers that were detained at the Hyundai plant in East Georgia. They were here and working illegally, and now they're going to be sent back to South Korea. The terms and conditions by which they're going to be sent back is still being worked out, and that's led to the delay of this flight. Deidre Dukes at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport following this story. Deidre, what more do we know about what's going on here?
Well, Tom, as you said, we remain in a holding pattern here at Hartsfield-Jackson. That plane, the chartered Korean plane that flew into here at around 10 this morning, still sitting there at the South Cargo Bay as we await word on the next moves by the U.S. government and also South Korean officials. Now, the moment of that plane's arrival captured by media outlets from across the globe as the South Korean government works to bring home more than 300 South Korean nationals. ICE officials detained last week during a raid at a Hyundai battery plant under construction near Savannah. Now, after discussions with U.S. officials, South Korean leaders initially announced that they had reached an agreement and arranged for the detained workers who at last report were being held at an immigration detention facility in southeast Georgia to be released and bused here to Hartsfield-Jackson, where they would then board the chartered plane and return to Korea. Now, the chartered flight departed South Korea for the U.S. this morning, was headed to Atlanta when airport officials issued a press release stating that the planned transport and removal operation originally scheduled for this afternoon had been canceled, and federal officials did not release additional details about the status of the workers in custody who are expected to board this flight out of the country at around 2:30 this afternoon. As I said, this plane remains parked here in the South Cargo area. The workers who were supposed to fly out of here today are now left in limbo. Still a lot of unanswered questions as to their current status, when we might expect for them to arrive here in Atlanta to depart for their home back to South Korea, Tom.
And just to clear up some information that's kind of floating around this story, Deidre, stuff we're hearing here in the newsroom, they're brokering sort of how these detainees, if that's what you want to call them, are going to be boarding this jet. So I guess there's some visual and logistical details yet to be worked out with the State Department, I understand.
And that's what we're hearing as well, Tom. Of course, there was a lot of outrage and concern by those in South Korea when they did see those workers being held in chains, shackled during that ICE raid. The images were quite alarming, as you might imagine, to South Koreans who were watching this all unfold in the media as the ICE raid was underway here in southeast Georgia. And so it has been said that the South Korean government is trying to negotiate with U.S. officials as to the optics as to how these South Korean workers will arrive here in Atlanta, if they'll be shackled, unshackled, how they will arrive here and how they will board that aircraft, because of course they do not want them to be chained in handcuffs, anything like that, as they arrive here and as they board when they ultimately do so.
Yeah, I mean, because we're right on the heels of a visit by the South Korean leader to Washington. Diplomatic relations between the two countries, trade are all on the up and up. So I guess public relations in this case is super important when you talk about how these detainees are going to be transported back to their home country. Deidre Dukes live at Hartsfield-Jackson, awaiting news on how that's all going to unfold. Deidre, thanks. We also have a big development on, do you remember the protesters surrounding the Stop Cop City movement? Boy, they were out there for what seemed like forever, and a lot of them were arrested. Well, they just got a huge break in court because the case against them was thrown out by this judge here. They were accused of a years-long conspiracy to halt the construction of that project, the police and firefighter training facility in Atlanta. The judge saying today that he just doesn't think that the Republican Attorney General Chris Carr had the authority to bring the indictments in this case. Each of these defendants faced up to 20 years in prison under the racketeering charges. And we heard from an organization called Fire Ant Movement Defense. This is a group defending these protesters. They spoke out today after this judge's ruling.
The judge has indicated that at least one of those, the defense was right, that the Attorney General lacked the prosecutorial authority to even bring this indictment. What the judge said was that it could have very simply, the Attorney General's office very simply could have brought this indictment and followed the steps, checked the boxes. That's what he said. You didn't check that box. And that was to get permission, written permission from the governor to be able to bring the indictment. Basically, the Attorney General failed to get a permission slip from the principal. Could have gone through that step and didn't do it. So we now know that the charges, all RICO charges against the 61 defendants, are invalid. And that means that all charges will be being dismissed against 56 of the defendants. There are 5 more defendants that are facing domestic terrorism charges, and those charges are under review as well. We just heard argument this morning identifying the flaws with the very statute there. So that's a question as to whether even this domestic terrorism statute itself is lawful, whether that's constitutional. So what we have is a statute itself that potentially violates the Constitution. We have an Attorney General's office bringing an indictment that it couldn't lawfully bring based on that statute. And that statute, while it's specific to one of those counts, it's also intertwined with the RICO count. It is the basis of their RICO count. It is necessary for that RICO count that has now been dismissed. And it's important to note that this is a significant victory. Not just for the 61 defendants here, not just for my client, not for all the other individuals, but for everybody. This is an important political legal victory because this tells the state you can't go and attack a legitimate social movement. You can't use the law to criminalize protected speech, to criminalize a broad-based popular social movement. And it's also important to note, as a reminder, that this Attorney General's office is not just the entity that brought this. This is an elected office, an elected official, Chris Carr, who publicly said he supported Cop City. So this is a prosecutor, a prosecuting entity, an elected official using the law and using it incorrectly and unlawfully. A judge has now made a finding that this Attorney General did not even have the legal authority to bring this indictment and to bring it against a legitimate social movement that that prosecutor disagrees with. So it now is time for accountability, and it's time to fight this type of state repression everywhere it rears its ugly head. Fine. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Javier Dejanon, that's Xavier, his last name Dejanon, and I had the privilege of representing former defendant Jamie Marsicano in... I wanted to, and I'm an attorney based in North Carolina, but I work across the South, and I wanted to echo what Brad Thompson mentioned about this national problem. We have been very blessed to count with the support of people from across the country, lawyers across the country, activists across the country in fighting to stop Cop City in Atlanta and to defeat these charges. But as we celebrate today, I want us to bring this energy to where state and federal governments are repressing these same very movements, these same people elsewhere. There's cases happening of insane charges in northern Texas, in Los Angeles, in Oregon, in Chicago, in DC, in New York City. Atlanta was a test run, and the state didn't win this time. But it is up to us, it is up to you all, the media, you all the people, to continue fighting to ensure that the state never wins. Thank you.
Well, you can imagine the Attorney General had something to say about this. We gave a lot of time to attorneys defending these folks who were trying to disrupt the facility for Atlanta firefighters and police to train, which is now open and has been built. The Attorney General saying that the prosecution will continue to fight against domestic terrorists and violent criminals who want to destroy life and property. We strongly disagree with the decision and will appeal immediately. The judge, by the way, blaming his decision partially on a procedural matter involving whether the governor was informed of what was happening. So we'll see how this case involving the protesters and the quote-unquote Stop Cop City movement will continue to unfold. We have a lot of news still to cover here. We want to show you live pictures, which we've just gotten into the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom out of Utah, where we're continuing to follow developments surrounding the shooting of Republican activist Charlie Kirk, who was on a campus nearby talking to students, as he frequently does. He is the leader of the Republican youth movement. President Trump called him instrumental in getting him reelected as president. There was a shooting today, and Charlie Kirk's representatives confirming that he was shot and is being treated at this hospital. So we're staying on top of developments there out of Utah as we continue. We're also going to speak to Senator Jon Ossoff coming up here in this hour. I spoke to the senator not too long ago. He had some very interesting things to say. If you'll give me a moment, I'm just being handed information from President Trump regarding this shooting of Republican activist Charlie Kirk. We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him, in all caps. That from President Trump, who again called Kirk instrumental to his reelection as president. So we're going to continue here. Don't go away. A lot still to get to when we come back. Thanks so much for streaming with us today here on Fox Local on what has turned into a really busy news afternoon. Got a lot to update you on. I'm Tom Haynes, joined by meteorologist Jonathan Stacy here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. And we're also talking about the weather, Jonathan. I mean, no complaints from the weather department, but I can't really remember the last time it rained, and I don't see any rain in the forecast anytime soon.
We got a sprinkling in some areas Sunday, but this is now day 4, that being, or not Sunday, Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, now 4 days without rainfall. Our last dry streak was just last week, from August 24th to September the 5th. We had 13 days without rain. You'll remember last year, Hurricane Helene blazed up to the north just to our east. And after days and days of rainfall, we embarked on the dry streak. In fact, it started on September 30th, and it did not rain again at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport until October 29th. We almost went one entire month, Tom, without a trace of rain here in Atlanta. And it appears to be that we are starting to embark on another trend. As we look at the rainfall stats here, this is not a good showing, but it's not a actually dismal showing just yet. Today we're in a deficit. We're in a deficit for the month. We're 10 days into the month. And for the year, we are running behind by almost 2 inches of rainfall. Now, of course, we can get 1 or 2 systems in here and we could course correct fairly easily. The thing is, there are just no systems on the horizon. In fact, as we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, it appears that we're going to be in a dry pattern. In fact, we'll be like unusually dry throughout the area. It looks like the interior of the eastern United States will be experiencing below average rainfall amounts from the Great Lakes all the way down into the Mississippi River Delta. And yes, a portion of North Georgia is included in that. In fact, the Atlanta metro area and points to the north and to the west of I-85 expected to be slightly below normal in terms of precip. To add insult to injury, we're looking at warmer temperatures. But first, over the next 7 days, you can barely find a speck on the map. But we're going to also turn up the heat. The 6 to 10 day outlook shows that temperatures will be well above average across pretty much the entire United States, literally from sea to shining sea. As we get into next week, the heat does not back off. In fact, we'll start pushing those numbers beyond the 80s into the 90s.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like we'll kick that off as early as Sunday based on our newest forecast models just coming out within the last few minutes. So we got 2 things here, Tom.
Yeah.
We need some rain, but also if you turn up the heat, that's going to further parch an already parched ground.
So these 90s that we see next week, are they going to be long-lasting warmer temperatures, or it's just a little blip on the radar here?
So
we're getting spoiled by the nice weather.
We are getting spoiled. Now, what I will say is I don't see a outright overture in the dew point. And if the dew point were to go back into the 60s plus, that means that we would start to feel that mugginess. And so we would say it's 91, but it feels like 95 or 96. So I think this will be kind of a dry heat. It will remind you of a Phoenix, Arizona type of heat, a desert heat, at least to start. But we live in the southeast. We have a big pond on our right, the Atlantic, and then down to the south we have the Gulf.
Yes.
And so moisture has 2 paths in.
2 avenues.
Yeah, it has 2 avenues in, and they like to come from all directions. So that said, this pattern won't last for long. In fact, we are looking to the Gulf for some potential development. Put these dates in your radar, not on your calendar. But September 20th, September 21st.
Oh, you're looking that far out.
Yeah, I'm looking out. We have to kind of keep our eyes peeled, especially because we don't got much to do around the weather center these days. And I'm knocking on wood about all that. But we'll be looking out for some potential tropical development. I want to say that as we get into the second half of the season, because today is peak hurricane season for the Atlantic, September 10th, we have to start looking southward. So oftentimes you look at that long fetch of water from Africa all the way to the Caribbean, and that's where storms generally develop. But as we get into the second half of the season,
down in the Gulf.
Yeah, we look at the Gulf. The Gulf waters are very warm, and they remain warm for several weeks going into early November. So we'll be watching that area with some suspicion, especially around the Bay of Campeche.
You know what's great though are the cool mornings. It's, and it doesn't look like, even though it's 90, we're still going to wake up to 60s.
And a little inside baseball here. Those 60s are sticking around because the dew points are staying low. Dew points in the 50s or maybe low 60s. That's really nice. and that keeps us cool in the morning, and yeah, it gives us quite a bit of room to warm up during the afternoon.
All right, we'll pray for some rain. Jonathan, thanks. Want to get you back to live pictures of this hospital in Utah. It looks like somebody is speaking here, and I'd like to listen in if this has anything to do with what happened where Republican youth activist Charlie Kirk was shot during a rally today at Utah Valley University. So let's listen.
So I hope that was him. I hope they got him.
And you all are physically okay? I mean, I know what you experienced was certainly very traumatic, but you're physically unharmed?
Yeah, the man who, after they took him down, he yelled, "I'd do it again."
Wow. I think his name was George.
All right, we're going to send it back to you. We'll continue to talk to people who witnessed this.
All right, live pictures out of Utah. You know, over to my right, we have a huge bank of monitors where we're getting a lot of live pictures in. That news conference just popped up, so I wanted to bring it to you as it was happening about this event at Utah Valley University. Charlie Kirk hospitalized right now. These are live pictures of where that is, at the hospital where he's being treated. His spokesperson confirming that he was indeed shot. You could see the local news reporter there bringing you these pictures. She's doing her report for the local station out in Utah. But we're going to continue to stay on top of this situation. The president releasing a statement saying that we must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. That from President Donald Trump, who called Kirk instrumental in mobilizing the youth vote to getting him reelected president. So we're going to stay on top of that situation. Locally here at home, you know, there's been a lot of talk about safety on MARTA. The Atlanta City Council demanding answers from MARTA about how they're going to beef up security and safety for folks who ride the rapid transit system. We remember the video after the Beyonce concert of the people sliding down the escalator. Angelique Proctor there standing by live for us. Angelique, we can see you. Hopefully you can hear us. What is the latest on what's happening here?
Well, Tom, I see and hear you just fine. MARTA's police chief declared today that his transit system is safe. And he was very adamant in his presentation that started this morning. Both he and the interim CEO spoke before the Transportation Committee. Like you said, there has been a whole lot of talk about MARTA's safety, particularly after that their facilities, but they say every place that they have checked, the system is ready for what is ahead. Now, the one thing that we did hear about was the injury that we talked about, the several people that were injured. We also got, which was very surprising today, an apology from MARTA. Take a listen to this.
What was the root cause? The investigation concluded that the sudden passenger load caused the escalator to speed up, the belts to separate from their mechanisms, and the emergency brakes to engage. Vice Chair Overstreet, Chair Amos, you're correct. It should not have taken a resolution or this amount of time to get this information. And I apologize on behalf of MARTA.
And you don't normally hear that type of transparency, so that was certainly very eye-opening and actually very good to hear. Now, MARTA's police chief took the mic after the interim CEO, and he says he did a 5-year look back at MARTA and the crimes that have been happening on the buses and the trains, and he was actually very pleased with what he found. He also says he has 250 sworn officers now, but he has several in the pipeline, and he is hiring more.
MARTA police, and with the help of not only the police, our jurisdictional partners, our employees, our riders, have cut Part 1 crimes in half compared to 2019. Currently in 2025, as of this morning, we're 18% down in crime overall. So I want to be clear, MARTA is safe.
And he was very clear that MARTA is safe. The council people said they were pleased with the presentation, particularly Councilwoman Marcy Collier Overstreet. She had held a news conference to sort of challenge MARTA to give a safety plan, and today they really actually responded. And so she did say that she was pleased that they were there, and she went on to say that she looked forward to working with them in the months to come. And of course, with the FIFA World Cup coming and so many major events, a lot of people looking at MARTA and expecting them to sort of rise to the occasion and do a very good job when we're on the national and international stage.
Or how about just getting to the airport? I mean, people want to use MARTA, but they are afraid because of the incidents that have happened either at the station, on the train, on the escalator. I mean, they're being like hit from every front. So it's good that the council got their attention, and it's good that at least something is being done to improve the situation there. Angelique, thanks. More breaking news for you just into the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. It's coming fast and furious today. We understand from the Jeffco, Colorado sheriff that there has been a shooting at Evergreen High School. So this is a school shooting. At least 2 students have been shot, we understand. They are being transported to the hospital. The media is staging right near this high school. So as soon as we get live pictures up, we'll bring it to you. And as soon as we get more information, we'll also pass that along to you. A devastating update in the condition of a Armucci High School student involved in an accident. Our Kevin Stewart is on top of that story, and my interview with Senator Jon Ossoff as we continue here. We have a very sad update and news about an Armucci High School student, a football player, killed in a massive car wreck last night. Today, a family and a school community are devastated and trying to pick up the pieces. The student, a football player, we understand. Kevin, what is the school doing to try to help students cope with this?
To provide counseling for students today, and it's really been a tough one, a real tragedy. 2 teens actually were riding in a pickup truck right back here on the Georgia 1 loop, and when they were trying to make a left-hand turn onto Calhoun, that's when the collision took place. As you know, this happened after 6 o'clock last night. 3 people were rushed to the hospital, Atrium Floyd, about 3 miles away from this location. but 15-year-old David Clemens was pronounced dead at the hospital around 7:30. The teen, as you noted, was a football player, a DB, at Armuchee, and he played at another school a couple of years ago. But he was definitely well loved, not just at this school, but throughout the community. Drivers in the both trucks were taken to the hospital. We are told they are expected to survive. Memorial has begun to build up here at the scene this afternoon. We spoke to Clemens' teammates who were the first to start the tribute.
Just holding on to each other, like, I mean, even the ones you didn't know, like we don't know on a day-to-day basis, we're all sticking with each other, working through each other, helping each other, praying over each other, just trying to help out each other as best we can.
All right, you can look live right here at the scene. You can see these youngsters putting together this tribute to David Clemens. They've been coming out here since about close to 3 o'clock. Many of them are his football teammates. I can tell you that right now we have checked with law enforcement trying to find out if there will be any charges. Right now that is unclear. Tom?
Yeah, Kevin, you know, it's so unsettling. I remember a long time ago when I was in high school, we learned of one of the students passing away. It's really shocking when you're so young. You really haven't experienced too much of life or heard about these kind of things. You know these people on a personal level. You pass by them in the hallway every day. So, you know, it can be extra difficult for students to kind of cope with something tragic like this happening, especially, you know, when they're a standout player on the football team.
Yeah, you know, and one thing, you know, this is a more rural part of the state, but football is king here. And Rome, while almost 2 hours away from Birmingham, is not a small community, yet people know one another and they are bonded together by faith and football. And these kids are really heartbroken and were very gracious to spend some time to talk with us. But they said this is definitely impacting the entire community. Tom?
Yeah, indeed. And our thoughts go out to that school community and, of course, the family of that football player that was killed. Kevin, thanks. We have an update for you on the shooting of Republican youth activist Charlie Kirk, who you've no doubt heard about. He was shot on the campus of Utah Valley University out in Utah. There have been live pictures streaming into the newsroom since this happened, literally seconds before we started streaming with you. These are live pictures of the hospital where Kirk is being treated. His spokespeople confirmed that he was shot, condition unknown according to Charlie Kirk's folks. A couple of people who were there, witnessed this incident, are being interviewed. Let's see if we can listen in.
Sure yet.
Yeah,
We're trying to figure it out.
We're trying to figure it out. We're walking back. We're trying to walk back.
We're trying to see if they'll let us in to get across.
Yeah. And again, sorry if I'm repeating the question. No, it's okay.
What do you think this, shooting is going to impact? I think on a broader scale. Do you think it's going to kind of cause an uproar or anything?
Well, from what I'm hearing, if it's true, the guy who got shot, he was a pretty big influence in whatever was going, like their agenda, right? So I don't know. I hope it all gets figured out, and I really don't want this to happen again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. From what I heard, it was a sniper from a long ways away. So I don't know. I think the focus of this should probably be on probably some sort of gun control or something like that, so that things like this can't happen again.
Anything else? Thank you guys so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, some folks that were at the rally with student conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot this afternoon at Utah Valley University. If you could see the crowd that was there, it was massive. I mean, a lot of people turned out to see him, as they so often do. He was, we believe, in a Q&A session with students. Those oftentimes go viral on TikTok and other social media channels of him and students challenging him and seeing if he can answer their questions. And I believe that's what was happening at the time that this gunfire rang out. We understand that he's being treated at Timpango Regional Hospital in Utah. Secretary of State here in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, issuing a statement not too long ago condemning the political violence in Utah, saying that Tricia and I are lifting Charlie Kirk up in our prayers right now, praying for his health, strength, and comfort as he recovers. President Trump also releasing a statement expressing his support, saying that Kirk was instrumental in mobilizing the youth movement to get out and vote in this election to re-elect President Trump. And now Charlie Kirk has been shot. So we're continuing to stay on top of the story out of Utah, and we'll bring you any updates as we get them. Also, right after we come back, my conversation with Senator Jon Ossoff, which you will not want to miss. Thanks so much for streaming with us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haines, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. We're so glad you're here, and we're joined by a special guest, U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff from our nation's capital, there at the U.S. Senate. He's here to talk about a new online safety initiative that he's co-championing and some new data that just came out that he will share with us. Senator, thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations on baby number 2.
Thank you so much, Tom. Lila is almost 4 months now and healthy, thank God. And her big sister, Eva, is 3. It's hard to believe, but it's such a blessing to have 2 healthy kids.
You're outnumbered
in the house.
by the ladies, right? At home now.
Yes, indeed.
We'll get to the online safety initiative for children in just a moment. First, you are running for re-election next year, and it'll no doubt be a tight race between you and your eventual Republican contender. One poll has you just within points of, say, Derek Dooley, who the governor, as you know, has endorsed if he is the nominee. Will President Trump's 2024 victory here shape the way you run for re-election?
No, I'm going to run as I have governed, which is for every part of the state, for everyone in the state, no matter your income level, no matter your race, no matter whether you supported me when I first ran for the Senate. Georgia is my priority every day. I look forward to continuing to deliver for Georgia as I run for re-election over the next year and a half.
Your campaign will coincide, as you know, with the gubernatorial race. Who do you see as the Democratic standout? We know Stacey Abrams went on a listening tour back in June. Keisha Lance Bottoms, the former Atlanta mayor, is in the race. Jason Estevez just resigned his state Senate seat to run. So who do you see as the Democratic frontrunner at this point?
I think it'll be a vigorous Democratic primary, and that'll be a decision for the voters. So we will see as the months go by and that campaign unfolds.
All right, Senator, we just got word just within the past hour or so of the delayed departure of a Korean Airlines charter jet that will take hundreds of South Koreans back home who are working at the Hyundai plant, as you know, illegally. Governor Kemp releasing a statement saying, in part, quote, all companies operating within the state must follow the laws of Georgia and our nation. What is your reaction to the Hyundai raid and the president's push for immigration enforcement?
Well, indeed, all employers in Georgia must follow U.S. labor law. And I think we need answers both from the companies involved and also from the Trump administration. Hyundai and LG need to address these allegations of violations at their construction site. We also need more information from a Department of Homeland Security about the raid and who they detained and on what basis. And as all that information is pursued, we need strong communication between the U.S. and South Korean governments, because this has caused a diplomatic incident, in order to ensure that these facilities are indeed built, that they come online and employ thousands of Georgians in manufacturing jobs as they promised to.
All right, let's shift gears now and talk about the CDC. A lot has been happening there, especially over the last month. We understand that fired CDC Director Susan Monarez will testify before the Senate next week. The president campaigned and won on shaking up bureaucracy and even touted RFK Jr. as his HHS secretary, who you called on to be fired. Is the CDC, as Secretary Kennedy said, the most corrupt agency in the federal government? And since the president ran on those reforms, what's wrong with a reexamination of the agency?
Well, first, I think that's an absurd statement from Secretary Kennedy. The CDC remains the foremost agency in the country and indeed the world to fight deadly disease. And I have no problem with reform. This isn't reform. This is demolition. This is reckless and chaotic destruction. You know, in Secretary Kennedy's case, look, it's one thing to be a reformer or to be a skeptic. It's quite another to be a fool and a wrecking ball. And since he took office, he has systematically destroyed the CDC. Not to mention that a gunman, apparently inspired by extremist anti-vaccine ideology, fired hundreds of rounds at this sensitive federal facility, killing a DeKalb County police officer, and Secretary Kennedy was too busy on a fishing trip to respond properly to that attack. I welcome reform and I welcome vigorous scientific debate, but recklessly firing nearly a quarter of the workforce, systematically demoralizing an agency that is protecting children and families in Georgia from infectious disease is reckless and foolish, and it leaves the American public more vulnerable to a future pandemic and to infectious disease.
All right, Senator, as you know, the president has enlisted the National Guard to clean up crime in Washington, D.C. The mayor, Muriel Bowser, told MSNBC not too long ago that the president is interested in being in neighborhoods, fighting crime in neighborhoods. She has since walked back that statement. What do you think now about our own governor, Governor Brian Kemp, sending 300 National Guard troops from Georgia into D.C. to join that initiative?
Well, look, the foremost purpose of the United States Armed Forces is to defend the United States from our foreign enemies. And of course, the National Guard plays an important role as well when there is a crisis domestically, a natural disaster, or a true breakdown of civil order. But in my view, American soldiers' purpose is not to police American cities. And that should only ever be a last resort in a true case of civil unrest or insurrection. And I don't believe that the American people want armed U.S. troops as our domestic police force. That is the job of domestic law enforcement.
Do you feel safer in our nation's capital? I mean, you live there, you walk the streets, you go out to dinner. Is the National Guard making a difference?
I can't speak to the local impact in our nation's capital. I would defer to local leadership here. But what I can tell you is we should bear in mind that National Guard personnel are volunteers who commit their time to be available in a crisis when that hurricane hits, in, God forbid, a situation where there's a breakdown of domestic order, or most importantly, to supplement our active duty military when our nation comes under attack from a foreign government. I don't think that these men and women who have jobs and families back at home sign up in order to pour mulch at public parks in our nation's capital. These are brave Americans who wear the uniform to defend the nation. They should not be treated like a political prop.
All right, Senator, let's talk about this initiative that is near and dear to your heart. And I think all parents, frankly, I'm one of them, will welcome. And that is the Kids Online Safety Act. You were mentioning to me just before we went on together some new numbers that just came up. Tell us about the initiative, the legislation, and your letter to the Secretary of Education about cybersecurity.
I have, as you know, young children at home. And the bottom line is that the internet is not a safe place for children. And tech companies and social media companies have been allowing children to be exploited on their platforms. Last year, I wrote and passed into law a bipartisan bill bringing Republicans and Democrats together. It's called the Report Act. The Report Act, now law, for the first time requires these tech companies to report to the authorities any evidence they encounter on their platform of sexual enticement or sexual trafficking of children. Can you believe, Tom, that before I pass this bill into law, a social media company might come across evidence that a child's being sexually enticed online, but not report that? And indeed, in many cases, they were not reporting that. Well, what does that mean? That means that that sexual predator can continue to approach that child. Law enforcement's not informed, and that child may be victimized. That is why I wrote that bill, passed it into law. And what have we seen since I passed it into law? We have seen hundreds of thousands of new reports of sexual enticement of children going to the authorities because now the tech companies are held accountable. They must make those reports. And I will continue working to protect children by holding big tech accountable to ensure that these platforms are not places where predators can roam freely and target our kids.
All right. Senator Jon Ossoff, we know we'll be seeing a lot of you over the next year as you begin your campaign for 2026. Senator, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. Stay with us. The news continues right after this. Welcome back. Tom Haines live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom on a busy afternoon of news. Want to bring you up to date on that breaking news in Colorado, where there are reports of a school shooting at Evergreen High School. Just look this up online, which appears to be south and west of Denver, Colorado. The governor, Polis, issuing a statement just moments ago, within the past 20 to 30 seconds, actually, saying that I'm closely monitoring the situation at Evergreen High School, getting live updates. State troopers are supporting local law enforcement and responding to the situation. Students should be able to attend school safely, the governor goes on to say, without fear across our state and nation. We're all praying for the victims and the entire community. As you take a look at live pictures from above the high school there, where at least 2 students have been reportedly shot. We'll continue to stay on this situation, which is rapidly unfolding here, and bring you the latest information as soon as we get it. On to the other big breaking story today, and that is the shooting of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk. He mobilizes young Republicans all over campuses across the United States. Our shot just dipped out real quick. Lots of live pictures coming in from where that happened at Utah Valley University. This was during one of his big rallies and Q&A sessions with students out there. Very well attended. The Associated Press also reporting just now that Kirk is in critical condition. Let's listen in real quick, if we can, to some folks who were there.
Trampling each other, and I saw 2 girls, 2 college-age girls, one was having a panic attack. So I grabbed both of them because she was collapsing and rushed her down underneath the tunnel and got her to calm down, then put her in my car and got her hold of her parents. So
I think it's very suspect that he was talking about guns right when he was shot. That just didn't add up. It's almost felt like that the person that was asking the questions about gun knew it was going to happen. And I hope they grab him too and question him.
Thank you both very much, and we'll send it back to you.
A local affiliate on the shooting of Charlie Kirk, who the Associated Press is now reporting is in critical condition at the hospital at Timpangos Regional Hospital out in Utah. We'll continue to stay on top of that breaking story here. You know, tomorrow marks the 24th anniversary of 9/11. It was a day many of us will never forget, and we lived through it. Many of the younger generation did not. So there's going to be a remembrance ceremony honoring the first responders in the city of South Fulton. Our Eli Jordan is out there where this is going to happen. Eli, such a significant remembrance for a very impactful and devastating event that happened in our country 24 years ago tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, little did we know 24 years ago today that within 24 hours the whole world would change. And today, actually, at the Emma Darnell Aviation Museum and Conference Center here in South Fulton, right next to the Fulton County Airport, they did have their Beyond the Call of Duty Day, day not only to remember the first responders and those lives lost that on 9/11 24 years ago, but also local first responders that face, you know, uncertain situations every day. Whenever we call 911, they never know, you know, nothing is assured. And they never know if they're going to, you know, return their families home safe or not. And today I spoke with Adrian Jackson, founder of the Appreciation for 9/11 First Responders program. And this is what she had to say.
We are honoring several people as part of this program. It gets bigger every year. So this was a very difficult year in Atlanta for first responders. We actually lost a firefighter and police officer in the cab, and we have several people who were hurt. This year we have the first loss ever in the city of South Fulton, which was Captain Helio Garcia. So we're honoring his memory today. We're also honoring one of the 30-year veterans in the force, Algernon English. He will be recognized for his 30 years of surviving incredible odds. We have Beyond the Call of Duty Awards today from Officer Harper, who took a baby and did CPR on an infant, which is an unusual thing that's usually done a little different from regular ones. And then we're recognizing 2 officers who were part of the incident on Fulton Industrial. It was a double shooting of those officers. They're getting an Act of Valor Award because they saved each other's lives. So we're doing that today.
And tell me the importance of even though tomorrow is the 24th anniversary of 9/11, tell me the importance of this time of year.
This time of the year, people always know to thank veterans who served for us overseas, and they should do that for our military. But they don't often think about saying thank you to the everyday heroes who answer the call when we dial 911. And that's what I try to do, is to get them to appreciate and understand that they're heroes in their own community, that they should say thank you to every day.
All right, Adrian Jackson there. Eli, what an important, event out there, not only memorializing these 9/11 first responders, but even local first responders as well, as we wrap up.
Yeah. South Fulton's had a big year, and tomorrow morning I'll be in Henry County for their 9/11 remembrances on the day of 9/11, 2001, being remembered 24 years ago. Tom?
Eli Jordan, thanks so much. That's going to do it for us here in the 3 p.m. hour. So much breaking news still to come here on Fox 5 as we continue right here, right now.
Fox 5 News at 4 starts right now.